Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we are trying out Rayquaza. This is not a very strong restricted Pokemon in the format, relative of course to some of the most common ones, but I think this is a really cool Rayquaza team and it's probably some of the best Rayquaza support that I've seen in the format so far. So in Series 10, obviously some restricted Pokemon are going to be easier to execute. Pokemon like Xerneas, Calyrex, Kyogre, Zacian, and others like Rayquaza can still be really good. You just have to work a little bit harder for your wins, especially in, depending on the matchup, right? If you look at Rayquaza, of course, it's not going to be amazing into Zacian teams, right? Zacian just walls both the Rayquaza's primary damage attacks here. And then some of the other restricted Pokemon, like Xerneas, for example, obviously can just deal large amounts of damage to you. So Rayquaza is kind of like a glass cannon. That's why there's Focus Sash here. This team, by the way, is once again built by Bars. We featured a lot of their teams in the last year, and they've really become one of my favorite team builders. Always a pleasure to feature some of their stuff on the team. The Calyrex Ice Mimikyu team from a couple of episodes ago, also from them. So I think their Twitter down in the description below, as well as a rental and a pace, courtesy of them. And yeah, this is just a really fun team, I would say. Rayquaza is a really cool restricted Pokemon. It's one that, in previous generations was a little bit stronger, especially in 2016 when you had Mega Rayquaza. This is basically like Mega Rayquaza, just doesn't actually have the ability to Mega Evolve. So you're using the same attacks as you would see back in the day, just a little bit weaker. But that being said, it still has plenty of room to thrive in the format. And really the main reason I think Rayquaza is really interesting is because, well, first of all, Extreme Speed is just a really strong priority attack. And two, most of the non-restricted Pokemon actually fare really poorly into Rayquaza, right? You think of things like Urshifu, Rillaboom, all the grass types, right? Like Tsareena, Amoonguss, for example. And Rayquaza can just deal large amounts of damage to them, and most of the time, those Pokemon can't really threaten Rayquaza for a KO. So that often puts you in positions where you can just get a free Swords Dance off against them, and then just try to sweep the game afterwards. After a single Swords Dance, Dragon Ascent just one-shots almost anything that doesn't resist it. And Extreme Speed, normally when you use priority attacks, you expect it to do a little bit of damage. Well, Swords Dance Extreme Speed is just remarkably strong for Rayquaza. So yeah. The rest of the team is, support that you've seen before, classic Magnet Eleki, Citrus Incin, AV Tsareena. This one does have high jump kick and payback, so no triple axle here. Payback, of course, is really valuable into Calyrex Shadow Rider. As you know, Calyrex Shadow Rider is always just really strong. We don't have that many great, Ghost Resist, but with payback, this is just a really easy solution into the Calyrex Shadow Rider matchup in itself. Choice Scarf Ditto is also going to be really valuable in copying Calyrex and then potentially just outspeeding and going for Astral Barrage. We've actually used a bunch of different Dittos, already, and Scarf is really, I'd say, still the most common. At least that's what I typically expect, and that's the one you should respect the most. But Ditto has plenty of viable items, right? And then Specs Fini, which I think was on Bars' last team as well. So yeah, Rayquaza, not going to be the easiest restricted Pokemon to execute, but it can be really, really fun. A little bit more matchup dependent, as with a lot of the less common used restricted Pokemon. But I mean, this thing is a menace. When Rayquaza was allowed in restricted formats, times were a little bit different, but it actually won, the 2010 U.S. National Championships way back in the day. Of course, Wolfie won Worlds with Mega Rayquaza in 2016, so no more Mega Rayquaza, it's just regular Rayquaza. The kind of playing field is a little bit more even for it, but I think in a, one restricted format, it can actually be, fairly strong. And Airlock, of course, going to help you out a little bit into the weather matchups, into Kyogre and Groudon specifically as well. And so, yeah, overall, I'd say this team is just a lot of fun. So looking forward to trying it out, and it's definitely one of the best Rayquaza team comps I've seen in Series 10 so far. So thanks so much to Bars for the team. Details in the description below. Question of the day, I'm curious if you can come up with a brand new signature move specifically for the restricted Pokemon, especially the ones that maybe aren't used as frequently. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And yeah, leave a like if you enjoy, and let's get started. All right, getting into our first match of the day, and it's going to be an Eternatus team. Okay. Eternatus. Scarf Ditto is going to be pretty valuable when copying it. Got Choice Specs Fini. Fake Tears, Grimmsnarl, something to watch out for. There is triple priority potentially with Incin, Rillaboom, and Grimmsnarl, so Tsareena might have some value for us there. Sareena's also not bad here because, well, we don't have triple Axle. I was gonna say we have the AV, but without triple Axle, I'm not sure I really want to bring it. I think Ditto, Fini, Rayquaza are all must-brings here. I'm just double-checking our Fini set here. Yeah, we don't have an Icy Wind or an Ice-type attack. So Eternatus is going to be interesting to deal with. I feel like Incin plus Rayquaza lead with Ditto and Fini in the back is okay here for us. So let's try it out. The other thing is that they don't know we don't have a dragon type attack on the Rayquaza, right? It's a Swords Dance Dragon Ascent variant, but they don't know that. So the idea behind Incin plus Rayquaza is I can just go for something like a Fake Out plus Swords Dance on turn 1. I think being able to have Ditto in this matchup will be very, very interesting for us. So let's see. They're going to go Grimmsnarl plus Eternatus. Question is what I want to do turn 1 here. The play I'm leaning towards the most is... it's a question of whether or not they have Fake Out on their Grimmsnarl, because they might just like double up on my Rayquaza. This is where the way we led is actually pretty interesting, where if it was swapped, Rayquaza was on the other side. Maybe swap Ditto in a little bit easier. I got Fini here. Parting Shot. Yeah, I mean, I really could see them just going Fake Out into Incin and then like doubling up onto it. We do have Focus Sash on Rayquaza, but I don't know if I want to give it up that easily because it really just hard wins against most of my opponent's endgame here. So I guess I'm going to just Fake Out Eternatus here. And I'm actually going to switch into Fini, I think. And the reason for this is because I don't want to switch in Ditto. By switching in Fini, that sets up Misty Terrain. It's not going to be super important, but could help when I bring out Ditto later on. And if they actually go for Dynamax Cannon onto the Incineroar, that also works out pretty well for us. But maybe they read Fini and go for like a Poison type attack. I also question whether or not Grimmsnarl actually clicks Fake Out here, but it looks like they do have it. But we're going to trade Fake Outs. Okay, I'm actually pretty happy with that outcome then. It's Black Sludge. Okay, so you're going to deal a little bit less damage than normal. I'm honestly expecting Fake Tears from Grim. So I'm actually going to switch in Ditto right now, I think, and go for a Parting... I kind of want to just Flare Blitz here, but I don't know. I think Parting Shot here is fine. Yeah, I'm going to Parting Shot and go into Ditto. The key thing here in this matchup is conserving Rayquaza, because that is what we're going to want to use in the endgame against the majority of my opponent's Pokemon in the back. So Ditto is also just really valuable here in scouting out my opponent's set. Okay, so they're going to set up Reflect to start off. I'm okay with that, although it means we could have maybe just knocked out Grim with a Specs Moonblast. That would have been pretty nice. It is going to be a Cosmic Power set. That makes sense with Black Sludge. That's actually like the norm. I don't love seeing that, but if we keep Parting Shotting this, it's just not going to do that much damage, so I guess I shouldn't be that scared. Okay. So what we want to do right now is attack around the Eternatus, and then probably use Rayquaza and then just Swords Dance into Dragon Ascent in the late game. But the problem here is that now my opponent will be able to get a Light Screen up as well. So I had the opportunity to Moonblast. I was kind of nervous about a Fake Tears combo coming out, but not super likely in that position. Got Specs Moonblast. I might go for Gleam. Just want to see their moveset. Oh, wow. That is interesting. Okay. Toxic. So, like, Toxic is useless for them. They actually can't hit Rayquaza other than Toxic and trying to basically stall things out with it. So this is a very bulky Eternatus. Okay. That is really valuable information for us. And here, having Fini for terrain is also just valuable for us. So I don't think Moonblast KOs anyway. I'm actually down to just Dazzling Gleam and then switch back out into Incineroar. This game might go on for a long time, but the thing is we have really critical information on our opponent's Eternatus set, and Toxic and Flamethrower are super useless into both Incineroar and Fini right now. So like you can Cosmic Power all you want, but the thing is that you're going to struggle in actually dealing damage with Eternatus. Honestly, my opponent also has to watch out for Timer in this matchup. And they switch Grimmsnarl out. Okay, so they don't get a Light Screen up. This might be Celesteela coming in, or their Fini. Yeah, that's fine. And they Protect. Totally fine by me. Because the thing is now, what is your Eternatus going to do? I guess it's basically just going to keep clicking Cosmic Power. But now I'm free to just, get some free Dazzling Gleams off across the board. And this is one of the reasons I love Ditto, just for information scouting, right? It's going to be Leftovers, Tapu Fini. Okay. Honestly, Eternatus is in a really weird spot right now. You'd want to maybe even consider switching it out. I'm going to keep clicking Dazzling Gleam here. Fake out into Fini and Gleaming is the safest play. There's no way they bring Rillaboom in this matchup, right? Surely it's Incin as their last one. Rillaboom would be really wild given I have Incin, Tsareena, and Rayquaza. The main reason I'm thinking about whether or not Rillaboom is out here is because if Rillaboom, like, if my opponent has Rillaboom, they could protect Fini, switch Eternatus out into Rillaboom. But here I think I'm just going to fake out Fini and Gleam. I don't want them to Calm Mind with that right now. They'll probably protect, but they actually don't, which is fantastic. Okay. So it's just going to be another Cosmic Power. Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting game to play out because the thing is, you can Cosmic Power all you want, but you're not going to deal any damage. And I just have to be a little bit careful in how I set up my terrain in this game. Like, Fini's Misty terrain is actually going to be super critical into my opponent's team composition. But we get another great Dazzling Gleam off here, and even if you, like, Calm Mind, we'll be able to, you know, we're not going to KO it here after a Calm Mind, but that's fine. It is the last turn of terrain, so I actually do want to be careful about that. Okay, yeah, I do want to be a little bit careful about that, because I don't want this thing to get a Toxic off on me at any point on all of my grounded Pokemon. Meaning I want to switch Fini out this turn, I think, into Ditto. Okay, I'm actually willing to double switch here, I think. Yeah. Maybe they get a Toxic off into Rayquaza. When you're using the Eternatus that my opponent's using, though, Timer is actually a very real, like, win condition that your opponents can use against you. So I'm not, like, actively playing towards that right now, but it's something I'm keeping in the back of my mind, which is why I'm, like, not aggressively trying to target down Eternatus. I also could have gone for Parting Shot there, but I don't want to whiff into a Protect on Fini's end. Yeah, I guess I could target Eternatus, but it's okay. Flamethrower is really not doing, like, significant damage at this point in the game anyway. Yeah, so they're just going to keep Cosmic Powering. Okay. I would Cosmic Power Calm Mind here, but it's like if you Calm Mind, that's fine. Okay, they actually opt for Moonblast. That was actually really risky of me, because if that had went into the Rayquaza slot, that would have been really bad. So, in retrospect, I don't love that play. I, like, was kind of just reading them going for a Calm Mind for sure. Maybe they're not even Calm Mind. I guess we'll get some information here with our Ditto. So, let's see. It's not Calm Mind. Heal Pulse, Icy Wind, Moonblast. Wow. Okay, wild. Knowing you're not Calm Mind is good, and you also have... It's going to be dual screens for sure. Multiple turns of Reflect. I'm fine going for... I think Moonblast here is just fine. The question is whether or not I want to Swords Dance with Rayquaza right now, because I could just Moonblast and Dragon Ascent into their Tapu Fini, but if I'm my opponent, I'm probably protecting Fini here. I also have to be aware of my timer in this game. Okay, I'm gonna go for Moonblast Dragon Ascent just because I don't want to risk Rayquaza fainting. If they protect Fini, so be it, but they don't. Okay, good. So they're gonna Cosmic Power with Eternatus. Still fine. If Rayquaza were grounded, I'd actually feel so confident in this matchup because then it's like you just can't deal damage into Rayquaza. Dragon Ascent should finish it off from that range. Nice. And I just can't risk a Swords Dance in that position because we know the Fini has Moonblast and Icy Wind, and I just can't take either attack right now. So, one other interesting thing that we can do in this game is actually switch our Ditto out and then copy their Eternatus and get the boosts off as well. But yeah, the key thing about the Eternatus here is just inability to actually deal damage. Flamethrower, Cosmic Power, Toxic Protect. So you can heal a little bit from Black Sludge every turn, but it's not that scary. Okay. 3 turns of Reflect left. We want to ideally time this. Moonblast. I can't just Swords Dance here. Swords Dance this turn is relatively free. I have to be very careful about my own timer here because I'm taking longer to make my moves. But I'm just trying to think everything out fully right now because like my opponent doesn't have much offensive pressure, which theoretically should favor us. I don't want my Sash... Sash being broken doesn't really matter, but they could Spirit Break us actually. So because of that, let's go back out into our Fini right now. What this also does is now set up Misty Terrain, so your Toxics are completely useless. So basically, because we have full information of our opponent's Eternatus set, I'm just going to keep attacking around it. Because it doesn't put on any offensive pressure with just Flamethrower into any of our Pokemon. So you can set up all you want, but if you can't deal damage, it's not that scary. It's going to be Fake Out. Okay, they correctly target Ditto. It's fine though. And yeah, Toxic. This is where us having Fini is just so helpful, right? So I'm just going to launch Moonblast here. I really think their last one's going to be Incineroar, so I'm just going to Scald to cover for that option. You don't really have a safe switch it into Moonblast and Spec Scald right now, so they probably Light Screen. But then I think there's, what, one more turn of Reflect left, meaning then I can just KO Grim. And then you don't have Reflect up for the remainder of the game. Yeah, like, they're going for a -1 Flamethrower into a Tapu Fini right now. 164 down to 136. I was like, that's actually pretty good damage, but yeah, it was a critical hit. So Ditto's been really nice for us in this game. 1, to scat out for my opponent's set, and then 2, to also just be able to provide us a lot of utility across the board. Okay. 3 turns of Misty Terrain. It is the last turn of Reflect here, so yeah, I'm just going to Moonblast and Scald again. And I'm making my moves faster here because I don't want to lose this game on running out of my time. But like I said, the reason I wanted to take some time to think earlier on in the match is because our opponent's in a position where they shouldn't theoretically be able to do too much damage. And like, if Rayquaza gets hit by a Spirit Break there because we're at -1 defense, that'd actually be huge, right? Because that's the amount of damage my opponent would need to potentially knock out Rayquaza. Right now, we know that this Eternatus is actually, I'd say, useless for my opponent in the sense that we can leverage it to towards our advantage. So this is their final Pokemon. They actually did bring Rillaboom. Okay, very interesting. That is actually going to pose some problems because this means now they can actually Toxic. And I don't love that. But unfortunately for them, I was going to say they missed. They actually connect on that one. But I'm actually kind of surprised they targeted the Ditto slot rather than the Fini slot. I'm actually very happy about that. Okay. So we're just going to get some more chip damage here. This is a really interesting way to run Eternatus. I've certainly seen Cosmic Power, but not Cosmic Power and Toxic like that. It's really cool, honestly. I think here we can just go Instant and Rayquaza. And the key thing is now my opponent's running out of Pokemon that they can actually protect with, which is good for us. Reflect wears off. I'm just thinking how I switch this out. It's more likely you're going to want to Toxic. It doesn't really matter. I mean, if Rayquaza gets Toxic, I don't think my opponent has enough turns to actually win. Because I can just keep switching in and out as well. And the key thing here is Eternatus is not going to win off doing damage in this game. So my opponent's win condition is to either get a big burst of damage right now, and I'm not allowing them to get that damage. So without that, then their only potential is to Toxic everything with Eternatus, and then just stall the game out from that position. But I just don't think we allow our opponent to actually be in a position to do that. Yeah. Okay. So now Rayquaza's in safely, and once again, we're at no risk of taking damage. The only thing we really needed to avoid here was a attack from the Grimmsnarl. I go for another Cosmic Power. I'm fine with that. Like, I don't care about you getting boosts right now because you're not dealing damage. And now that Reflect is also worn off from my opponent's end, we could actually fake out Swords Dance first. But I would think Dragon Ascent's a KO into this. Yeah, I think I'm going to just Dragon Ascent here and fake out into Eternatus. So having our Focus Sash intact is still nice. And then, like, if Rillaboom is AV, they actually sack Rillaboom. Okay, that makes sense. You conserve the Intimidate, reset the Intimidate, get Rillaboom back in for free. But, like, I don't really mind that, right? I just, like, don't see a clear win condition for my opponent. This game was just about playing correctly with Rayquaza, because Rayquaza is really good in this matchup, and it attacks, like, it's one of the reasons why it's a really interesting Pokemon, right? Dragon Ascent plus Extreme Speed actually has really good coverage across the format, but it's a relatively frail Pokemon, especially after you use Dragon Ascent. So we wanted to just avoid Grimmsnarl getting a Spirit Break, potential Spirit Break off. They never went for it, but I think that turn was critical, because had they gone for Spirit Break and we stayed in with Rayquaza, it could have been bad. Although at the same time, one play I really didn't like going for in this game, and I regret, and it didn't, like, it ended up being okay that turn, was when we switched in Rayquaza and they could have Moonblasted us. That was actually a really careless play on my end, so not the biggest fan of that, but it's okay. Anyway, here, I'm going to switch in Fini. Yeah, we don't really need Fini at this point in the game. That gets the terrain up, and I am willing to Parting Shot here into Rillaboom. Rayquaza should close out this game for us. I could have just Flare Blitz as well, but I'm not sure that actually KOs the Rillaboom. And first of all, this changes terrain, so that's already good. Once again, Eternatus is not winning this end game. They needed to distribute more damage, so this is why I can just completely ignore it right now. I just don't have to worry about it at all. Ditto made my life, like, so much easier, though, right? Because if I didn't have that Ditto, I'd be worried about playing around Eternatus Dragon-type attacks the entire time, and this Eternatus would be a lot stronger if we didn't have a Tapu Fini, right? But they brought a Fini, I had Fini as well, so it's just so much harder to actually get the toxic strats off. Yeah, so now we just get to bring in Rayquaza. Dragonascent will pick up another KO onto Rillaboom, and then it's a 4v1. And like, yeah, maybe you can Toxic the Rayquaza, but that's basically it. You're not dealing any damage with Flamethrower, and then you just don't have any way to actually, you know, seal up the game damage-wise. So I'm fine just going for Dazzling Gleam and a Dragon Ascent here. Like I said, I think the one play that I would have done differently in this game was carelessly switching in Rayquaza to turn my opponent's Fini Moonblasted. You just go for another Cosmic Power, that's fine. Like, it's 4v1 now, and you can't deal damage into 3 of my 4 Pokemon. Well, you can Flamethrower, but that's basically it. So this should be a KO, I would think. Very nice. That's the upside of Rayquaza, right? Like, Dragon Ascent is already just such a strong attack. A lot of the format's pretty weak to it as well. So we're going to deal no damage to Eternatus at this point, but that's okay, because Eternatus also does no damage to us in return. So as long as we just make sure the terrain is up, like, you cannot win this game for my opponent's end, because you're also playing around the timer. I guess their win condition right now is actually to hope for me to run out of your time. So I think that's probably what they're going for right now. But that's why I said we had to be very careful about how we played with your time in this game. So I'm just going to bring Ditto out. This copies them. And yeah, as long as we make our moves fast enough, they'll lose off timer. So I think, look, they just had no offense on their team at all. It's so bulky. The most offense really would come from the Rillaboom, but Fini just made, you know, their life substantially more difficult. Okay, what I want to ideally set myself up for is Incin plus Rayquaza, Fake Out. Honestly, like, all we do here, I think, is to just not run out of time in this game. Because they literally cannot win in terms of damage output right now. So I'm willing to just give up even up to 2 Pokemon. And just make sure Fini resets up that terrain. Yeah. Sometimes you're going to run into matchups like this, right? And so you just have to approach the game a little bit differently. And there are opportunities for crits as well. So pretty lucky critical hit. But that's the downside of such a defensive-oriented setup strategy that my opponent's running. Like, you will just be very vulnerable to critical hits. So, Light Screen wears off. Yeah, I'm just going to keep staying in with my Pokemon. I have no reason to switch out. And like I said, I think my opponent is just basically playing towards hoping I run out of your time. But I have no reason to give that towards them right now. The other thing is that their Eternatus is not really... Like, it doesn't have, like, a recovery move either, right? So, this thing's also on a timer in itself. So, you have Black Sludge, heals back a little bit, but yeah, 3 minutes left. We don't even need to win the game off timer, but once again, it's something, like I said, is a factor in this game. One thing I could have done better this last turn was actually switch Fini out, because I knew terrain was expiring, so I'll just do it here. Yeah, I'll just let Ditto fate naturally. We probably could have accelerated the pace of this game a little bit by not switching in the Ditto. But like I said, I feel like there's an infinite number of ways to play this endgame. It's just not clicking Protect is all. Sorry, not timing out is all. The main setup I was like going for, if we wanted to deal damage, just Incin plus Rayquaza, and then just Fake Out Dragon Ascent, Protect Parting Shot, bring Incin back in, Fake Out Swords Dance. Sorry, not Dragon Ascent, and then just get a bunch of boosts with Swords Dance is basically it. So yeah. Very interesting Eternatus set, though. You can see how difficult it is for me to actually deal reliable damage into it. But with the lack of a Dragon-type attack, we also don't have to worry about it. So, let's go back out into Fini. Actually, I'm fine to just go into Rayquaza at this point. I'm curious how much Dragon Ascent does. Because, like, at best, you have to Toxic Rayquaza, and you just don't have enough turns to win the game. As long as we don't give our opponent their one win condition, which is timing out of your time, they'll never win. And if you're using an Eternatus team like my opponents, one of your win cons is actually to... You can often actually win off the timer, which is really interesting. Wait, I just wanted to quickly check their boost, but yeah. They are at +6, oh my goodness. Okay. I'll just Fake Out Swords Dance here. We still have a minute to work with, over a minute, so we're fine. I think the game ends in like 2 or 3 turns. Yeah. I think this wasn't a perfectly played game, but as soon as we found out the Eternatus set and you look at their Pokemon, you just know they have no damage. So just making sure you avoid the one potential damage dealer, i.e. Spirit Break Grimmsnarl, is how you really want to approach it here. So yeah, just Parting Shot. and Ascend. It is really interesting, but I think part of it is that Rayquaza is actually not a very common Pokemon, right? So my opponent is... This is actually not a good matchup for them. Because this Eternatus set can actually deal with most other restricteds, right? You can go for a... You can target Xerneas, you can target Kyogre. Kyogre's actually did pretty good damage there. So yeah, like, if we were not in a time crunch and we had fewer resources, then the best approach here... And we needed to just damage Eternatus. The best way would have been to just go for like 2 Swords Dances and then Dragon Ascent away. But this is just an example of like securing a win that was 100% won as soon as the Rillaboom went down. Maybe could have optimized the end game a little bit better here, but yeah, like we didn't really need the timer. Of course, we got that critical 8 on Eternatus, but you're bound to get a crit in the long run anyway. And yeah, but my opponent just played it out, right? It was one in which I thought we had 100% won as long as we just didn't like, use our full time each turn. So this is a very different playstyle from any other team I've seen in the format. Super interesting. Yeah, but in the end, when you struggle to deal damage, it's going to be tough. And the combination of Fini and Rayquaza was actually really difficult for them to deal with. So quite frankly, I don't think they had too many options. If you look at the other Pokemon on their team, it's Incineroar, Celesteela. Like their whole team is just so bulky, they can't deal damage. So yeah. I think we actually might have just gotten the KO there. I did click Dazzling Gleam over Moonblast. If we just went Moonblast Ascent there, that also probably just would have done enough damage to win the game. But yeah. So I think the main thing here is that we actually had pretty good fortune in the sense that most Eternatus run a Dragon type attack, and they actually didn't. So yeah, that was probably one of the longest games we played in this format. But like I said, it was basically like we were in a very good position as soon as we can confirm the set and knock out everything around it. So Rayquaza was really good, honestly, right? It picked up, I think, 3 KOs with Dragon Ascent, which was super sweet. And I think Rayquaza is very good into almost every non-restricted Pokemon in the format. Like the most common ones, Rillaboom, Urshifu. Instance, I guess, annoying, but it can't do much damage to you. You can Swords Dance in front of it. Aleki, you can E-Speed. And so, like, yeah, there's a lot of Pokemon that you could potentially just set up on. They don't do much to you. If you get a single Swords Dance off with it, it's a beast. But in this game, we didn't really need one. So, yeah. Definitely a very interesting way to kick off our time with this team. So let's just look for another one. All right, next match here. And what in the world is this? Ultra Ball tier hits different sometimes. Oh gosh, there's definitely some really crazy strat I don't see here, and I'm really nervous about it. I literally have no idea. I mean, they literally don't even have a restricted Pokemon. Is it like a way to make Shedinja basically impossible to KO? Honestly want to lead with Ditto here. Normally that seems like a bad idea, but I just want information on what the heck my opponent's team, like anything on their team. Yeah, I just have no idea what to expect. We probably bring Tsareena. Like, I'm gonna bring all the anti-Shedinja, right? So Tsareena, Rayquaza, Incin, Ditto, I think is our best bet. And normally I would advise against leading Ditto, but in this matchup in which, like, I don't know anything about my opponent's team, I'm actually gonna go for it. This is an example of, like, in a best of 3, you'd probably figure out your opponent's strats, or if you were even seen the strat before, so maybe you all learned something at my cost. But that's okay. Like, you know, games like this are really interesting because, you know, it's always a win-win. It's like, okay, if we win, that's great. If we lose, we get to see a really cool strategy and then, you know, figure out how to beat it. So, but stuff like this is always, in my opinion, the stuff you really, really don't want to underestimate. So it's gonna be Carbink and Pangoro. Okay. So we're gonna copy the Panda. Now what? What's your moveset? Fling, Entrainment, Taunt, Protect. Oh gosh. Well, you have Taunt. I'm down to taunt them here. Okay, I'll just taunt Dragon Ascent. I Protect. Is this Mental Orb now? Maybe I should have let Incineroar instead for Faked Out. This is probably Mental Orb, I feel like. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh gosh. I'm gonna, I guess, pivot out into Incineroar here. Okay, let me just double check. What does Entrainment even do again? Making the attack, the target's ability the same as the user's. Okay. This is some invincible Shedinja setup, I'd assume, right? It's gotta be. I don't know what else it would be. It could be Soak Shedinja. They had Lopunny, right? I thought Lopunny got access to Soak. But we actually have Tsareena, so even if you're Soak, we have out. Okay, they're gonna taunt us. It's fine. They're skill swapping. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember Pangoro's ability right now. Their Focus Sash. Oh, they're giving it... Okay, so you give it Sturdy. But I have E-Speed. So, like, I can just fake out Extreme Speed here? Shedinja comes in now? That thing probably has Ally Switch. I could have just won the game this turn. Like, their switch was entirely too obvious. Oh, it's Sturdy Shedinja. It's Sturdy Shedinja. I see. I see. Oh my goodness. So then it's a question of, do you have Ally Switch here? If you don't have Ally Switch, you kind of just lose right now. You'd have to have it and go for it. Because what they're going to do is Ally Switch and then Entrainment, right? Oh my goodness. I really think they have it? You must on a set like this, right? Okay. I'm gonna read Ally Switch. If they have it and they go for it, we win. Oh, they just forfeit. They did not need a forfeit there, because if they didn't have Ally Switch, like, I read into an Ally Switch, so I think they actually could have won. But yeah, I guess that's some strategy in which you make Shedinja invincible. That forfeit was one turn too early, I think. I'm guessing my opponent was just like, oh yeah, they have Extreme Speed. I just lose right now. And I don't have Ally Switch. But I read into an Ally Switch, so I think they actually would have won the game if they just played it out for one more turn. So, yeah. That was wild. I mean, Mentor makes so much sense. Focus Sash makes so much sense. I just had no idea what to expect when we first got into the battle. But, yeah, I think even if you were to go up against a strategy like that, you would actually want to take a similar approach to the previous game, in which, like, they're not going to deal damage to you, so it's a numbers advantage, right? So, against Shedinja, actually, if it becomes unkillable, your only win condition is Timer. Whereas the previous game, like, Timer was just something that benefited us, but we were also in a position where we could have just done enough damage into Eternatus. But I guess if you actually get Sturdy onto the Shedinja, that's it. Very interesting. All right. Well, either way, definitely not a team I would have expected to run into. I wish they played it out for one more turn, but we take it. So let's look for one last one. All right, getting into our last match today. We've definitely gone up against some unconventional teams. And yeah, I just honestly, like, I haven't seen an entrainment strat ever at a high level. And I'm going to guess that most of my opponent's other Pokemon also got access to it. So the whole idea is just to enable Shedinja fully and get Sturdy onto it. So, yeah. Better prepared for it. Ditto was actually really valuable just to copy. So I'd say, like, I'd give Ditto the MVP status today just for information from our opponent's ends. It's going to be Zacian. That's probably the worst Pokemon for Rayquaza to go up against, because it just resists both of our neutrals. Or Dragon Ascent and Extreme Speed. But, once again, Rayquaza's really good into everything else that's not a restricted mon. So we'll probably still bring it. I think it's probably going to be Incin Ditto. Ditto for copying Zacian here is going to be really valuable. Kind of like Fini, honestly. They just don't have great resist to it. Okay. I'm going to go with Incin plus Fini as a lead, and then Ditto plus Rayquaza in the back. Aleki is actually really solid here to drop their Zacian speed. It's just their Landorus-I that makes me so nervous of bringing it. I don't love Tsareena in this one. We do have Volt Switch. But I feel like everything else we're bringing here is really strong. I guess we could cut Fini for Aleki. But Fini's bulkier, which I value here, I think. But I think if we're to lose this because of poor Pokemon selection, it's probably because I didn't bring Aleki over Fini. But I think you can make a good argument for both, so we'll see how it plays out. Either way, wow, yeah, that last team was just... I had no idea what was coming our way, but a strat like that, like, it will, like I said, very rarely work past one game once your opponent knows what's coming your way, but it's so impossible. I wouldn't say it's impossible to predict. A lot of you probably, as we got into the game, already knew what was coming our way, but yeah, I just haven't seen that before. Just because it's not a strategy that, like, works very well at a high level, just because it's not consistent. That being said, it's not like it's, you know, a weak strategy by any means, in the sense that it can beat a lot of high-level players, right? It's just not consistent to win win the majority of times in the long run. So key thing here is that our Incineroar is faster than our opponents. That's really good information to know, because what that means is turn 1. If there's Specs Aleki, I fear my damage output here. Honestly, the play might be to fake out here and then copy their Aleki. If you're in my opponent's shoes, we'd probably just trade fake outs turn 1, right? And then I'm nervous about you being Specs Aleki anyway. So, yeah, I'm actually going to switch out into Ditto. If you don't, like, I'm using Ditto so much to actually scout my opponent today. They actually switch out Tsareena. Landorus. Wow, if I actually went fake out into Instant Muddy Water turn 1, that would have just been, like, game over, it felt like. I get to copy Lando, though, so it's not even that bad. And this also confirms their full 4, basically, because there's no way they didn't bring Zacian. So, turn 1 is actually not bad in terms of information management for us. You have to fake out the Fini slot here, right? Yeah. It's a risky play by them, but it makes sense because they expect me to respect them, right? Okay. I got Parting Shot. It's not super good. Yeah, they're sub Earth Power. I'm Scarf, so obviously I'm not subbing here. Rayquaza switching in is fairly obvious, but at worst I get hit by Sludge Bomb into a Dark type attack from Incineroar. Not that bad. I'm going to just switch in an Earth Power there, Incineroar right now. I think Fini should take a Life Orb Sludge Bomb from Lando, or Sheer Force, but I mean, I'd actually be really surprised if that, like, one-shots. But if it does, that's really bad news for us. Right now, the other good thing is actually, if you think about all of my opponent's Pokemon, it's Instant, Aleki, plus Zacian. They don't have a switch into Earth Power right now, which is really good for us. Also good to confirm they have Substitute. That's not super rare. I'd say it's actually more standard than not on... Oh, almost a KO. Okay. One-shotting there would have been absolutely huge, but it's okay that we don't get the KO. I'm still very happy with that damage output. They do go for a sub. That's fine. Like, there's no way I'm really going to play around that super well this turn. And then Parting Shot, which is also fine. Into Landorus. Okay. The thing is now you have to Parting Shot into Zacian or a Regieleki. Neither of those are great. Into Scarf Earth Power. So I don't mind it very much. With Rayquaza, Swords Dance is not very important for us right now. Because Extreme Speed, I would think, still breaks sub. Yeah, maybe it helps a little bit against Incineroar in the back and Aleki, but yeah, I don't think it makes very much sense to set it up right now. Being able to copy their Lando was actually amazing, so once again, Ditto's really been the MVP today. I'd give it full credit. They bring out Zacian, which I'm fine with. I mean, Zacian protecting here makes some sense. I'm just going to launch Earth Power into it, I think. The question is, what do I want to do with Rayquaza? I can break Landorus' sub. They could double up onto my Rayquaza. You could also protect Zacian. You'd also Blade into Ditto. I could pivot Rayquaza out into Incineroar. A fairly obvious switch. I could see them making the hard read and Earth Power in that slot. That would be wild. I just don't want to give up Rayquaza this early on. Actually, I think the play here is to just protect. Yeah, because this just... Oh, no. But if Zacian just attacks Ditto, that's bad. I don't love this. I went for Extreme Speed plus Earth Power, but I don't think that's the play because... Well, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know if that was the play. The good thing is with Scarf Ditto, this should be a 2-hit KO onto Zacian. Nice. Okay, that's really good. They go for Blade. Let's see who you're targeting. Lando makes sense, right? Yeah. I don't know. I think their Lando Earth powering into us right now actually would make a ton of sense from their end. Yeah. They try to read the switch. That's exactly why I didn't want to switch. Okay, great. Because the thing is, now I get Incin for free. With Incin, now we can potentially Swords Dance. And that is pretty sweet. This game's still far from over, though. Like, that was a pretty good turn overall, but I wonder if Swords Dancing first was better there, actually. I guess the other question is, do I actually want to Swords Dance here? And also, like, was it actually worth it losing Ditto? Because Ditto's so good if I copy their Zacian. Maybe it wasn't worth it. How do I feel about winning the game with just Fini and Rayquaza? Because what I can do here is Swords Dance and fake out Zacian, because they're probably going to Earth Power Incineroar. I don't know if that's the right play. Oh, they switch. That's super good for us, regardless of what they go into. It's instant. Okay, fine by me. Yeah, because now I just get an attack boost this way. Yeah, that's super good. Okay, great. What I was thinking there is that I'm willing to lose my Incineroar if it means I get to +2 on Rayquaza, because then I get Fini in and your Zacian's at neutral, so now I can Extreme Speed Muddy Water the subsequent turn. If I'm my opponent, your play is actually to pivot your Incineroar out right now, back out into like Landorus. I'm fine going for Protect here and Flare Blitz into Zacian. If Zacian faints, we should win the game. I'm fine with Instant clicking Fake Out into either slot. Zacian at neutral shouldn't one-shot my Incineroar either, so I think we're in pretty good shape right now. Okay, Zacian protects. That's fine, because now... Oh, it's actually not fine if they Parting Shot into Instant, right? Because then I'm at -2. Oh, that actually be such a good play on their end. They didn't Fake Out. Oh, well done. That play's a little bit risky for them to make, but it makes sense because it's also risky for me to just attack there. So then the thing is, you can pivot your Instant back in for another Intimidate now. That was a great play by them. Okay, they bring in a Lecky. Terrain disappears. I'm at -2. Blitz should still KO. We're at +1. And I just protect. Ah, that was such a good play by them. Yeah, that's honestly like a game-winning play, so kudos to them. You could E-Web and then like Sacred Sword Incin. I want to Extreme Speed the Aleki slot and then just Blitz the Zacian slot. Actually, I don't like that because they're probably Sash here, right? Yeah, if they're not Sash, that play works. Also, I'm not sure that's even a guaranteed KO, but they're probably going Electro Web, KOing Rayquaza here. And I don't know if Flare Blitz even KOs Zacian now. Yeah. I think Sash Aleki is the norm on a team like that, though. What's my alternative play, though? +1 E-Speed isn't KOing Zacian. I guess... No, I can't even afford to switch Rayquaza out. Yeah, my opponent just pinned me really well. Like... the play last turn, Protect into Parting Shot was amazing. And if I read into that and I just go like Dragon Ascent, maybe Dragon Ascent Flare Blitz was the play there instead then. I don't think -3 Flare Blitz KO Zacian from the range that it's at now, and I'm assuming their Zacian's targeting Rayquaza for a KO. Yeah, they play this endgame so nicely, so props to them. I needed to consider the worst case scenario of Protect plus Parting Shot that turn, and just really didn't see it. That's just such a fantastic play. Yeah, that doesn't even KO Zacian. The problem is now, like, my Instant does no damage, and I can't pivot it back out. Even if I went Parting Shot there, though, we probably still lose the game. Because we didn't get any KOs here. We like chipped away at everything. The thing that's most frustrating is, in the end, they weren't Magnet or Spec Celesteela. So if I actually just went Fake Out Muddy Water turn 1, because we're Choice Specs, we probably just win the game from there, because you lose your Landers and you lose so much damage. But in a best of 1, it doesn't make sense to take that risk, because if my opponent is Specs, it's just a disaster for us. So the main question is, okay, let's first try to finish playing this out. I guess I could always throw the game, actually. Yeah, it's actually still possible to win with everything so low on their end. I'll talk about the analysis right after this, but I want to focus on trying to win still. The main thing is they're Regieleki. Actually, the main problem is Landorus in the back, right? So they're going to fake out Incin, Blade, Regieleki. Then Blade, Fini, bring in Regieleki, Volt Switch into Fini. The only issue here is, well, actually, they can't figure out what item I am yet. Okay, that just 100% loses us the game. Although, actually, even if we double hit there, Regieleki just Thunderbolts and Lando just Earth Power, so I don't think we're ever winning that. So the main play to think about was the turn that they went Protect and Parting Shot. The problem is I don't know if Zacian has Play Rough in this matchup. If it has Play Rough, and I don't protect Rayquaza, I would just lose to Fake Out plus Play Rough. So I don't have a play that's 100% safe that covers for every iteration of Zacian that exists out there. Can I assume that your focus has Regieleki too? I don't really think so. Yeah, this one's over. The reason why I don't feel like I can 100% assume it's Regieleki is because if they have a bad Kyogre matchup, then I would actually be more inclined to think they're Regieleki. But they actually have Tsareena and Tapu Fini on their team, so I don't even think like Kyogre's that scary of a matchup for them. So I went Protect that turn. I mean, it's like, yeah, if I Dragon Ascent there, the game's just over, right? Because then I just knock out your Incineroar. You don't get another Intimidate onto us. Actually, I don't know if the game's still over, because then you just bring in... You'd be in a similar position where you can just bring out Regieleki. Yeah, I honestly wonder if I didn't utilize Ditto well enough. And I guess Fini didn't actually get like much mileage. It's amazing to that matchup, but I didn't position it correctly. But it was hard to feel comfortable with it in the beginning of the game. I guess turn 1, I don't know. I don't think trading fake outs on, like, if I fake out into Regieleki and they fake out into Fini, I think that's a bad trade-off for us if we don't know the Regieleki set. And so, I don't know. There are so many Magnet and Specs Regielekis out there, so I wanted to respect that option. So, hindsight's 20/20, but it's a play that turn I wouldn't have done much differently. And yeah, honestly, it's just the Protect Parting Shot play. I think, like, not a lot of players would make that move. Play Rough is getting increasingly common on Zacian, so I worry about that a little bit more as a Rayquaza player as well. That's the tricky thing about Rayquaza. It's just not very good into Zacian, unfortunately. And we had the resources to win this one, but I don't feel bad saying that my opponent just played very well in that turn, and that was really kind of what won them the game. In terms of Pokemon selection, Regieleki I don't think would have been a great difference maker, especially because they did play heavily towards Landorus-I in the beginning of the game. So yeah, I don't think that was really something we felt bad about not bringing. And then yeah, I don't think Tsareena offers us very much for us in this one either. So I think the Pokemon selection was fine. Maybe we don't lead Fini then. We could just go Rayquaza, but then it gets intimidated immediately. Like, one option I'm thinking is Incin Rayquaza. No, but where do we go from there? Incin plus Regieleki, they also identified a really good lead. I don't have a safe answer into that. Like, hilariously enough, Incin Fini actually is a really good answer if you know that they're focus Ash on Regieleki, but I don't know that. And I also don't know that my Incin's faster than theirs. So, yeah. They just did a great job identifying their best 4 and playing accordingly with it as well. So, kudos to them. We did have the opportunity to Swords Dance with Ray the turn I E-speeded Lando. That might have been a difference maker. So, yeah, but it definitely is not the easiest matchup. Anyway, I've been rambling on long enough, so thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, details for the team, once again, in the description below. This one, not as, I would say, you know, it's going to be harder to execute. Rayquaza is just not the best restricted Pokemon, but it is a very, very good team built around Rayquaza. So you can certainly make it work, and we had some really interesting matches. So yeah, I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.